Hi, I wanted to talk a little bit about producing Fortitude, just to give you a rough idea of what a project like this entails. So, first of all, the idea was started in 2020. We really got started with the project in 2021, and the last production was not until the first quarter of 2024. So, about 3 years, the whole process, which is quite slow, and I talked about this elsewhere. Um, I usually start films with my own capital and time at risk. I'm not paid by a broadcaster or Netflix or a streamer or someone like that. So we start production without knowing actually who's going to fund it. We then were pretty lucky with Screen Australia. They gave us a development grant, which is not a lot of money, but it's encouragement and there's interest for the film. And Chris Kamen, the other producer on the project, talks about this in our little video. Um, we then, throughout the next couple of years, had a few other sponsors. And the nice thing about doing a commercial film is that you can do events. You can have a popcorn sponsor or like a preview event, exclusive sneak previews and things like that. So there's a little bit of money coming in, even though the film wasn't finished yet. Um, about halfway through, we tried to do a Kickstarter campaign, a crowdfunding campaign, which was very successful for my last two projects. But this one we completely failed. We were maybe aiming too high, or what I think, the time has moved on. So nowadays, there's no real need for the audience to kind of finance and help filmmakers because they have an endless universe of content to watch on YouTube, on Netflix, on Amazon. Everybody subscribes to all these services. There's so much content, you don't even know where to start, right? So why would you put 20 or 50 bucks for a documentary that might take years to finish? So I think that was a wasted effort, which was very painful during the time, but we made it through. We made it through. So the whole production was about 87 interviews. Of course, it's not only interviews, there's also many other things in the film, but 87 interviews of about 1,900 minutes, which is about 32 hours. So if you then do the math, what actually ends up in the film is about 2% of all material that we shoot with experts. 2% of that gets used. Those are the highlights, the best, the most important bits. But that means 98% of all the material is kind of cut out. Um, the the production was in mostly in the UK, where I'm based now mostly, and in the US. We went to Paris twice, maybe three times. We went to Germany, Berlin once, and a few other smaller trips, Ireland, for example. But the furthest production trips were to Australia. So maybe you remember that scene where we interviewed that school class, those two school girls that are sending their probiotic yogurt to the space station. And then a couple weeks later, we got back, the samples got back, and they analyzed it. It was actually two different shoots. So that was in Australia. And then there's one scene in Ecuador where I'm standing in the pineapple field in the middle of nowhere, really, we're analyzing satellite data and showing, whether that farmer could put more or less fertilizer or irrigation or something like that. So that was the two furthest productions. Now, the editing, Michael was the editor in the project. That's a separate video that you'll see. But just to give you a rough idea, we had, at the end of the day, I think around 20,000 assets in the film. Assets meaning every sound file, like a sentence of voiceover, my voiceovers, or like a sound effect, a ding, a bing that you don't even notice, or a little graphic, like the title card, CEO of this company, or of course the video footage, right? Usually we have two cameras on each interview, and then there's a lot of other footage that as well from all these space companies or third-party footage. Let's say a NASA clip from planet Earth or the space station or something like that. 20,000 of that, and so that's the complexity in the edit to bring it all together, but also legally, right? So Chris Kamen in the other interview talked about we need a paper trail, the signatures for all of these assets. Post-production, again, something for a different video that was actually done pretty quickly and efficiently. We ran out of time and money at the end of the project, so there wasn't much hesitation there. I'll do another video on AI, how I used AI, but for now, thanks so much for watching. Cheers.